Hey everyone, it's Ross here on MGF Customs with a new update toward my upcoming series of showcases for Spider-Man No Way Home. And as I've mentioned in the previous videos, I've been working on not just the integrated suit, but also Andrew Garfield's suit from the Amazing Spider-Man 2 since the release of the movie, and it's been going really well. It's been really challenging. His suit has the most webbing out of any of the three suits that I am making, and it's really just been a crazy throwback to 2014, right? Because I had a big Amazing Spider-Man 2 showcase I did at the time all those years ago in 2014, and there are some figures in there that I'm still really proud of and a really cool Rhino build. But in 2022, I am now revisiting this figure, revisiting Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and even though it's taken a while for me to get him to this point for this video, he's been coming along really nicely. And everybody's reaction over on Patreon since like early January has been really great and has really helped to keep the momentum going. But now, here he is, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man from the Amazing Spider-Man 2 so far. And this is, of course, the iconic portal scene. And I also did this edit, which I am really happy with too. Kind of like him standing in front of Doctor Strange's or one of Ned's portals during the final battle of the Statue of Liberty there. And it's really funny because these pictures look great, right? But there's nothing on the back yet and still nothing on the legs. And that's just because it really does take a long time to paint Spider-Man suits with this much precision, this much organization, and this much use of various different techniques to get to this point. And just like with the integrated suit, which I do have some new progress on that I'll show you toward the end of the video here, Andrew Garfield's mask was the first thing that I painted, and this was really kind of like the number one thing that I thought I definitely did wrong on the 2014 suit from what I remembered. And even though I intentionally made it a point to not look back at the 2014 suit, I was still really hyper-focused on making sure that I just got the shapes of the eyes right. The lenses had to be correct, and I actually spent more time shaping out the lenses on Andrew's mask here than I did on the integrated suit, because they really are just so unique. And if you look at them from multiple different perspectives, it can kind of get a little bit confusing as to just exactly how these are supposed to be shaped and exactly how to translate them onto a Lego minifigure. But I wound up taking a lot of inspiration from Phoenix Custom's latest design for his Andrew Garfield suit that he's collaborating with Rex Mini Brick on. It's already sold out now, by the way. But his designs, just like with the MCU Spider-Man minifigs, have been really great for painting reference. And so taking a look there, you can only really tell if you actually have looked at the reference yourself, but I quickly noticed he skipped out on a couple of the sets of lines on Andrew's mask, and this was kind of my biggest concern going into painting Andrew's suit in Lego. It's kind of like painting an Iron Man suit. You can't fit everything on, so where are you going to compromise? What is not going to make it onto the Lego minifigure? And basically that just comes in the form of having to skip a set of lines here and there. And so on the mask, it's actually really accurate, and I did get it very close, and I'm really happy because you'll see the designs on the back eventually. They are just weirder and more complex than Tom's MCU Spidey mask design, so it took a lot longer to figure out. Honestly, painting Spider-Man suits in Lego so much of the time is just me studying the reference, and doing this kind of precise line work is really not easy either. I actually did discover a couple new techniques that I sort of used on the integrated suit already, but only got even better with on Andrew's suit here, and I'll be including all those in an eventual how to paint kind of like webbing tutorial over on Patreon that's going to be exclusive over there. But it's just all about plotting a trajectory and knowing where each line is going to connect and how all of the lines are going to come together, wrapping around the Lego minifigure's head in a cohesive and natural looking way. The torso though had me a little bit more concerned because I really wanted to do a textured suit this time. I wanted to paint a mesh pattern, and really it's not necessarily impossible, but just really not feasible to paint a proper super thin series of meshing textures by hand, little micro dashes. And so instead what I opted for was basically dropping my perfectionism and just painting the mesh on as best as I could before sectioning off any of the parts of the suit where I would do the base colors of the red, and long before I would ever begin the webbing. And thankfully after a few color tests that did actually work out, but I also had to prep the body, which I'll talk more about in the exclusive tutorial that I mentioned I'll be doing eventually. But really once I got through all of those initial processes of applying the base colors, making sure I wasn't layering up too much paint on the main body so that the arms could still go back and forth, for example, without tearing any paint, I did get the base layers of red onto the minifigure's torso and just got to work going line for line on Andrew's suit. And of course, you guys know these figures are 100% hand painted by me, and while I'm not claiming they are perfect by any means, I am definitely pretty proud of how this torso eventually turned out. I think while just working on this torso and the mask, I rewatched the entire series of Daredevil again and the Defenders, and I was actually finishing up season 3 around when I finally painted the spider symbol into all of the webbing I had painted onto the torso. This was really nerve-wracking for me and something that I was dreading, and it's still something I'm kind of dreading even now because I have to do it several more times on Andrew's suit on the back and 2 on Toby's suit eventually. But I mixed my own like really deep dark silver color for this so that it wouldn't just blend in obviously with the gunmetal that I'm using as the primary color for the webbing. And man, it's just, I had to use the smallest little bits of paint as I went along, and you just have to be so intentional when doing stuff like this by hand. You have to know exactly what you're doing, and like I said earlier, you have to plot a trajectory and know exactly where every tiny speck of paint is going, each purpose it's going to serve, why you're applying it, and that goes for every webbing line, every leg of this spider, the shaping of the spider's body in the center, every single inch of it. I think about how I'm going to paint it, how the paint is going to behave, where it's going, and it's just, again, all about being really intentional. And I applied all of those same concepts to the arms, and the arms were a little tedious too, but not really for the same reasons, mostly because I was really concerned about me painting too many lines onto the arms and making it look really busy, because if I try to keep it accurate and paint on exactly how many lines are actually on Andrew's suit in the movie, it would have started to look like chainmail, I think, and that's not a good thing. So I managed to avoid that, again, by taking some inspiration from Phoenix Customs design, and that helped me a lot. So I kept the web shooters really minimalist though, because again, I don't really want to be layering up too much paint that has to rub against the body. And so essentially then I moved on to the belt, which was kind of the next big thing I was dreading, because I couldn't decide if I wanted to straighten out the belt and only paint it around the actual Lego minifigure belt piece, or maybe I wanted to paint it onto the torso itself and wrap it around the lower torso's waist. But I decided against all of that because again, I don't want to be layering up paint on the sides of the body unnecessarily, and painting the belt squarely around the torso definitely would have done that. And so I'm really happy with the decision that I went with, which was once again to take inspiration from Phoenix Customs design for this. I'll just link to his store down in the description below, or I guess his Instagram, since he mostly sells through resellers now. And basically I painted like 2/3 of it onto the belt piece and then like the other third onto the torso. And then even though it looks a little weird on the sides of the torso to essentially have disconnecting dash marks, I think this was the better and safer choice for the minifigure's integrity. And so I am really happy with how it's looking. Of course, you've already been seeing that Andrew Garfield head. That is actually an official Lego printed head from the latest Queer Eye set, but not the primary face. It's actually the alternate face on one of those characters in that set. But I bricklinked the whole figure after seeing it on HTW Films Instagram being used for the first time, and I loved it. I thought that was the perfect Andrew Garfield likeness, and so I ordered that minifigure, got this head, and then I took an Elvis hairpiece, but I sanded the hell out of it to really bring down the top volume and make it look just a little bit closer to Andrew Garfield's overall hairstyle. I even sanded down the sides a little bit too, and then got that whole thing painted up once I cleaned it up. And I am just so thrilled with how this is turning out. As someone who is a massive fan of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man and a massive fan of all 3 Spider-Man, I grew up with all 3 of them, just like you guys, of course, and so I was so crushed when Andrew did not get to complete his trilogy because they had to slot Tom Holland into Captain America Civil War all those years ago. And so getting the second chance now to go back and do this right has really meant a lot to me, and I mean, that's why I am so happy to be doing this project, because Spider-Man No Way Home means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to you guys too. And so if you'd like to follow along with all the progress I'm making as I'm making it, I'm going to be starting on Toby pretty soon here now. Of course, that's all being posted over on the Patreon, and again, it's just really fun seeing everybody's reactions, and it means a lot. But these edits that you've been seeing throughout the video, I did post over on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook several days ago, actually, and I'm sure many of you guys have already seen it if you follow me over there. And yeah, like I promised at the beginning there, I do have some new progress on the integrated suit's legs, and I started to paint that design wrapping around his knees, which was very complicated to do, and I still have to paint the webbing lines on the actual feet, which I'm not looking forward to, and I have to paint the back. As some of you guys saw in the Green Goblin video, I got those pincers in and the spell box, and it's going to be really cool, guys. I know it's taking time, and it's going to take more time, and I appreciate you guys sticking with me, but I think it's all going to be worth it in the end for sure. So yeah, but on that note, I guess that's it for this one. I'd love to hear what you think down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time for, I guess, whatever the next making of update video thing will be. By the way, the season 1 finale for the Book of Boba Fett is coming up this week. I already posted the reaction to chapter 6's amazing episode over on my second channel, and I hope I'll see you there. All right, everybody, take care, stay safe out there, and as always, keep creating. All right, bye-bye.